We start with some breaking news this hour that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dissolved the 6-member war cabinet. It was a widely expected move that comes after the departure from government of the centrist former general Benny Gantz. Netanyahu had faced demands from the nationalist religious partners in his coalition to be included in the war cabinet, a move which would have intensified strains with international partners, including the United States. Well, IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari has been speaking about the decision in the past few minutes.
If cabinet members are being changed and the method is being changed, we have the echelon. And we know the chain of command. We're working according to the chain of command. This is a democracy. We will keep on doing so. And if the members of the cabinet are being changed, this is the decision of this democracy, of this cabinet, of this prime minister. And we will keep acting according to the cabinet, according to the law, according to the international law. This is what the IDF did, and will do in the future.
Daniel Hagari there. Well, Israel's military is expected to repeat an 11-hour daytime tactical pause today, extending along 12 kilometres of road into Gaza from a key southern border crossing. The announcement of the plan to allow in humanitarian supplies was criticised on Sunday by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and several far-right government ministers. Operations are being halted between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. every day along the road that leads from the Kerem Shalom crossing to the main Salah al-Din highway, which extends north through the territory. Aid agencies say they still remain concerned about safety and security. Well, our Middle East correspondent Yolan Nell has more from Jerusalem.
Although there's been a political storm with the Israeli military announcing this new arrangement, what they're calling a tactical pause to allow more aid deliveries into Gaza, that arrangement is still in place. We believe it's in effect right now. We've had far-right Israeli ministers who have decried this decision. You've had the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu really criticising the military, saying we have a country with an army, not an army with a country. But there are Israeli commentators at the same time who are saying that this step would have had political approval. What it's designed to do is to allow lorries to reach the Kerem Shalom crossing from the Gaza side, pick up aid and then take it at least as far as a main north to south road so it can be distributed inside Gaza with more safety. And really that is necessary since the Israeli incursion of Rafah in the very south of the Gaza Strip last month. A lot of aid has got stuck at this main entry point. Now, with a full ceasefire in Gaza still looking a long way off, the Israeli military is also now warning about a wider war being possible with the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. That follows a recent intensification in violence across the Israel-Lebanon border, and we're expecting a key US diplomat, Amos Hochstein, to come here today to try to reduce tensions along the Israel-Lebanon border.
That was Yolande now there. Let's just take you briefly to Oslo, where Philippe Lazzarini from the United Nations Relief and Works Agency is addressing a press conference there about aid, we understand, and that aid getting through in Gaza. We will bring you the important lines from that press conference as we get it. Let's just have a listen in now.
Of lawmakers trying to label the organization as being a terrorist or to try to get rid of the organization from the occupied Palestinian territories. And we have also regularly demonstrations which turn violent, organized sometimes by elected members of the municipality of Jerusalem and would turn into arson attack in Jerusalem. As you say, Espen, these are not just attacks against UNRWA, these are attacks against the UN, and this is the reason why I have called members of the Security Council and the Member State to express outrage and to put in place the necessary measure to prevent that this becomes a new norm. Because if we tolerate this in the occupied Palestinian territory, this will be the new norm anywhere else in the world. The last point we were discussing is about the day after or the day after the ceasefire. I prefer to say after the ceasefire, once there is a lower intensity of military operation. and we discussed indeed the top priority of trying to bring back the 600,000 girls and boys on the age of primary and secondary school living in the rubble, being deeply traumatized, back into a learning environment. And the more we will wait to do this.
Philippe Lazzarini there from UNRWA. We are hearing him speak in Oslo there at a press conference. Let's move on now to speak to Tal Schneider, political and diplomatic correspondent at the Times of Israel. Thanks very much for your time here on BBC News. Let's go back to that story that we've had breaking within the last half an hour, that Benjamin Netanyahu has dissolved the 6-member war cabinet. Is that a surprise to you that that's happened?
No, it's actually a 5-member war cabinet. It was set up immediately after the beginning of the war in order to accommodate Benny Gantz, the partner that stepped in to help during the war. It was, a special arrangement for this, what they called emergency government. It became less effective with time, and that was one of the reasons Benny Gantz stepped out. Benny Gantz is not the opposition leader, but he is leading in all polls to be prime minister if there will be elections. So once he was out, he's a former chief IDF also. Once he was out, one of Netanyahu's partners, the very extreme right-wing Itamar Ben-Gvir, said, "I want to be part of this war cabinet." And Netanyahu doesn't want him in those, very close meetings. And for that reason, I think he broke up the war cabinet in order not to include Ben-Gvir in there. But we have to say, Israel has a cabinet, a security cabinet. So this was like an extra, very narrow war cabinet. And now authorities or decision-making will go back to the just regular security cabinet.
Okay, so does that mean it will have implications for strategy in the war going ahead? With the stepping out of Benny Gantz, I think Itamar Ben-Gvir and another extreme partner, Bezalel Smotrich, both of them have more leverage on the prime minister as it is in the government or in the cabinet. So they can use their, they can threaten to dissolve, the government at any minute. They could have done this also before, but they had less power. They were diluted with Benny Gantz inside. Now they have more power over the prime minister. And we have learned through those, very difficult months that those two are very influential on Netanyahu's decision making. So this is, the bad, the disappointing side of this very extreme government. What will this mean in terms of diplomatic relations, do you think? Particularly the US, will there be any implications with disbanding the war cabinet for relations with Israel going forward?
So, for example, those two extreme ministers are, they are for more settlements. They are for, they oppose any type of agreement with the terror organization, the Hamas. When you have to approve an agreement with a terror organization and release convicted murderers that are sitting in Israeli jails, when you have to do that, you need to have a vote in the government. Those two are, they said out loud, they will not just vote against it, they will also dissolve the government. Having said that, I think Netanyahu still have a majority in his own government to move forward a deal such as that. The expectation of the Israeli public is for a deal. There is, huge majority in the polls for a hostage release deal that will also include releasing convicted murderers, terrorists, and maybe end of war. So there is huge majority in Israel public for that. And I think Netanyahu still have the majority in his own government to do that. He just knows from those two extreme types that his government, this is the end, the political end of his extreme government, if they will, they will participate in the vote, of course.
Tal Schneider in Tel Aviv, we appreciate your time here on BBC News.